A Russian military-linked cargo aircraft touches down in Cuba under cover of night. The same aircraft type, the same flight patterns, and a chilling echo of events that preceded the fall of Venezuela's government. Late Sunday night, a Russian Ilyushin IL-76 cargo plane landed at San Antonio de los Baños, a heavily guarded Cuban military airfield just south of Havana. The aircraft is no ordinary cargo hauler. It is a U.S.-sanctioned jet operated by Aviacon Zitotrans, a Russian state-linked airline repeatedly accused of transporting weapons of war. Public flight tracking data shows the plane traveled a carefully approved route, stopping in Russia, Africa, and the Caribbean. Each stop requires government clearance. Each stop reveals who is still willing to host Russian military aviation. This same aircraft flew to Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba in October 2025, just weeks before U.S. military action removed Nicolas Maduro from power. U.S. officials later described those flights as a warning sign, a signal that Russian logistics were quietly positioning ahead of crisis. Now, history appears to be rhyming in the Caribbean. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel is under mounting pressure as President Donald Trump dramatically escalates U.S. policy toward Havana. Last week, Trump declared a national emergency related to Cuba, calling the island an unusual and extraordinary threat to U.S. national security. The White House also warned of penalties targeting any country supplying oil to Cuba without U.S. approval.
Sir, what do you want out of a Cuba deal?
Well, Cuba's a failing nation. It has been for a long time, but now it doesn't have Venezuela to prop it up. So we're talking to the people from Cuba, the highest people in Cuba, to see what happens. I want the people that came here that were horribly treated by Cuba to be taken care of, to be able to go back and do what they have to do. They have their family there. They haven't been able to see them in years, many, many years. So I think we're going to make a deal with Cuba. It's in bad shape. Cuba's in bad shape. Cuba has a humanitarian problem.
The White House also warned of penalties targeting any country supplying oil to Cuba without U.S. approval. On Sunday, Trump confirmed direct talks with Cuban officials, saying negotiations are underway at the highest levels. He described Cuba as a failing state, cut off from Venezuelan support and vulnerable to sweeping change.
Where?
In Cuba. Where are you speaking?
We're starting to talk to Cuba, yeah. We're starting to look. They need help on a humanitarian basis, and we're starting to talk to Cuba. Don't forget, a lot of people that live in our country were treated very badly by Cuba, and we want them to be. They all voted for me, and we want them to be treated well. We'd like to be able to have them go back to home to their country, which they haven't seen their family, their country for many, many decades. So we'll work that. I'll be able to work that out, yes.
In response to Claudia Sheinbaum's warning that the embargo or the restriction on Cuban oil to Cuba could cause a humanitarian crisis there.
Well, it doesn't have to be humanitarian crisis. I think they probably would come to us and want to make a deal. So Cuba would be free again. They'll come to us, they'll make a deal, but Cuba really, they've got a problem. They have a problem. I know so many people from Cuba, but we have a lot of people in the United States right now that would love to go back to Cuba, and we'd like to work that out.
What do you want to see from Cuba? I mean, what do you need to see to make
Well, we'll
that
work a deal. I think we're going to work a deal with Cuba. I think, we'll be kind. We have a situation that's very bad for Cuba. They have no money. They have no oil. Venezuela, they lived off Venezuelan money and oil, and none of that's coming now. And then the president of Mexico, President Sheinbaum, was very good. I said, look, we don't want you sending oil there. And she's not sending oil.
A senior Cuban diplomat, however, said that there is no negotiations between Washington and Havana.
What I can tell you is that we've been exchanging messages for some time, and it's logical. We have diplomatic relations, and we have issues to discuss. But if you ask me if we today have a table of dialogue, we do not. We're far from there. It has to be to what extent, from our view, to what extent is the United States ready to have a respectful dialogue with Cuba that is respectful of our sovereignty on equal terms. It depends on that. We are willing to discuss on any issue. Cuba, of course, is preparing itself with creativity, with stoicism, and with austerity, and with as many actions as we can in order to overcome what's naturally a very difficult situation. But to the question is, what can Cuba do? Just watch us. We're not going to be reveal any avenue we have to ensure the supply of oil or fuel, or how we're going to organize our society and our economy to be able to cope with a very difficult situation. We believe there are also many areas in which we can cooperate. We're not talking specifically about negotiation yet, that's another issue. We're talking about dialogue. And we are ready, has been our position to do it, and our people know that Cuba has been ready to discuss with the United States in a respectful and a civilized manner.
While the administration has stopped short of confirming military plans, Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have openly backed political change. Russian military involvement only heightens U.S. concern. Moscow has quietly rebuilt defense and intelligence ties with Havana, reversing decades of post-Cold War retreat. U.S. officials warn Russian activity in Cuba places hostile capabilities just miles from the American mainland. The IL-76 at the center of attention is capable of carrying 50 tons of cargo or transporting up to 200 personnel. In past operations, the same aircraft delivered air defense systems to Venezuela, including Pantsir and Buk missile platforms. What it carried into Cuba this time remains unknown, but in Washington, the message is unmistakable. When Russian military aircraft land in the Caribbean, major geopolitical shifts often follow.
Times of India videos, your daily dose of India and the world. Global news, different views, and sharp analysis.
Pressure of expectation from your fans, your supporters.
That is often served as a backdrop for several Bollywood.
You're not a brute majority anymore. If you individually take out playwright.
Making sense of global conflicts. Tracking the new emerging world order.
Strike on Israeli military bases.
A multi-pronged.
To stay out of harm's way as Israel started bombing targets across.
Understanding changing alliances in a polarized world. Tune into TOI videos for all this and more. Click on the bell icon to subscribe and never miss an update.